for some reason, this was on a whole different. Uh,
Date or something.
yeah, there was something screwed up with this.
So everything's on HDMI now.
Yeah, now we should be good.
Okay.
So, hey guys, can you verify that? Oh, okay, that works. All right.
Yes.
So, my apologies. We're going to start over. So, today we're going to be covering the questions. We should have verified that. My apologies. That were sent in by you guys. For everybody that is new or you're joining us for the first time, number one, welcome. And make sure you invite your friends and family to be a part of Burr Cashflow Investors, because we're trying to grow the community and increase kind of the interaction that we have within the group. So having said that, the first question that I was actually talking about was a question that was sent by Ms. Jessica. And what she was saying was, I'm frustrated with finding financing. In the last 2 years, I've tried conventional loans and banks and keep getting turned down because during COVID, my income was uneven. But I've had the same job for 25 years. I have good credit and I have no commercial debt. I already have one investment property and want to add to that. What is the best advice in terms of a funding type of a loan? How do I find a lender? And is there a big risk with 100% financing? So the first thing I was saying was there's two options for Ms. Jessica. Number one is you borrow money from a private lender. Number two is you borrow money from a Wall Street type of a lender, hard money type of a lender. And all you have to do that is go to National RE Funding, National RE funding.com. Put in your information and you'll get a call from Harry, you'll get a approval letter, and you'll get funded. I'm going to come back to that, but first let me cover private money, which you can get that at 100%. With a hard money loan, you're not going to get 100% financing. So private money loan, the way it works is it's a loan from your friends, family, other acquaintances, other people you may know within the community. And those loans, a lot of times you can get 100% from people in terms of doing your deal. Now, the biggest problem that comes in when people have not been doing real estate for a long time, they're not comfortable talking to their family, or they feel, hey, I don't know anybody in my family that's going to have a couple $100,000 to lend to me. And why would they lend to me? I'm still new. I'm scared. These are normal things, right? I faced the exact same thing when I got started. And what you have to understand is this, that if you just go to somebody cold turkey, and let's say you are a nurse, I'm just hypothetically making it up, they know you as a nurse. So they may talk to you about something may be going on because you may, health-wise, because you may know more about, obviously, healthcare than they will because you are already a nurse. Yet, when you suddenly get into real estate, you do something completely different. You're a teacher, you do whatever. Right? Now people don't look at you as a real estate investor. So if you suddenly pop the question, that, hey, can you lend me 150, 200,000 bucks? It's like just walking up to strangers, like, will you marry me? Right? It's bizarre. It sounds strange. And unless people are doing that, even if you ask, somebody came up to me and says, hey, Andrew, I don't know this person, or I don't have a rapport with them. I don't have a long history with this person. And somebody says, hey, man, can you lend me 250,000 bucks for a deal? What am I going to say? No. Why am I going? I don't know you. I have no rapport with you. I have no idea what the heck you're buying, right? Why am I going to lend you money? Now, it's very different if I know somebody, I have a history with them, they are from Mastery, there's a that would be a very different conversation. I'd say, well, it depends on what is the deal, right? Same thing you have to remember. So a lot of times, the reason why I say this, and this is something, guys, understand, you're trying to be an entrepreneur. And it is at times, it's going to be tough, meaning you're going to have some uncomfortable conversations. For the longest time in my life, the first time I ever started investing, I was 32, right? I was 32 years old when I bought my first property. So it's not like I wanted to start when I was 18 or 19. I didn't know how. Neither did I have the money. So I was selling real estate till the age of 32. I wish I had the confidence. I didn't, right? I did not have the confidence. I had low self-esteem, whatever you want to call it. And we all have that in different ways at different parts. I felt, well, number one, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never really invested before. What if somebody loses money? Of course, I didn't want anybody to invest with me and lose money. Oh my God, what if something goes wrong? All the what ifs, right? And this is important because we all feel that way. And you should feel that way because that shows you are genuinely concerned about somebody else's money. So the way you broach this conversation, the way you bring it up, because a lot of times you may say, hey, I don't know anybody in my family that has that kind of money. They can't certainly invest with me. But what about your friends? What about friends of friends? A lot of times what you have to start thinking about it this way, and this is not your only option. I'm explaining how this works. The psychology of a human being is this, that if somebody mentions something to me, right, and they're excited about it, they're generally passionate about it, that's what they talk about, right? Then guess what's going to happen? I'm going to get engrossed in that conversation. I'm going to add my 2 cents also, right? Somebody says, hey man, I'm doing this, blah, 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 blah. What do you start saying? Hey man, next time you go on vacation, you go hiking, let me know. I'll come also. I love to do the same thing. You have a similar interest. Now you want to participate. It's the same way with financing. I always was afraid to ask somebody point blank, hey, I have this deal. I'm going to need 200,000 for the deal. Do you want to invest with me? And I was scared because I felt all the what if questions that come to my mind. And second is, I don't want to get turned down. Right? I don't want to feel like I'm a reject. I don't want somebody to say no because I took it as somebody saying no to me. They're just saying, hey, no, I don't know. I don't know anything about the deal. I don't want to participate. I'm not scared. I don't know, right? That's what they're saying no to. They're not saying no to you. So this is important to understand. The way to get a yes or the way to get people excited was, and I realized this by just kind of doing it, was you get people to come along with you. Meaning that if I'm talking to people that I have business acquaintance with or I'm friends with, whatever, I would talk about real estate, right? Meaning the opportunity that I saw back in 2008 when everybody was running for the hills. Bunch of people, right, in a group of 10 people, man, that doesn't work. You know, some people, they don't have the money anyways. They have an opinion about everything. Oh, well, I have an uncle who lost his fortune, blah, blah, whatever. Right? But there are always going to be one or two people that are entrepreneurial type. They will self-identify themselves as you talk about what you're thinking about doing. Where do you think the opportunity is? What do you think is possible? And then you engage with them, those people. And what I did was I started getting some of these people that were, interested in investing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go take a look at the property. And one of them one day said, well, next time you go, Andrew, let me know. I'll come also. And literally, I had not planned this. This person comes along and I'm looking at them in terms of that, well, I wonder what their opinion is. And then this one person's like, man, I can throw some money in also. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even ask for money. And they say, I can throw in some money. And literally my first investment from another investor was $20,000. That's it, right? My investment was $20,000 and I got that as a home equity loan on a townhouse I was living in. His 20, my $20,000, I took that and I put that as a down payment for a hard money loan, right? And so I didn't realize that was a partnership was born. I didn't even know it. So a lot of times, instead of thinking about doing it alone, can you partner up with somebody? Even if you can't raise the money all by yourself, right? For the first 128 transactions I did some sort of a partnership with somebody. Now, it was entirely too long because after a while, I had the confidence, but then I felt obligated to give these people the returns because the returns were so good. So this is something that you're going to have to start having these conversations. I'm not saying today you're going to be totally confident. Now, today, for me, if I had to raise a few $100,000 or even a few $1 million, it wouldn't bother me the least to pick up the phone and call somebody and go, hey, man, I'm going in on this project. Are you coming along? Because then I'll have done my research. I have the confidence today, right? And it took me years to get here, guys. So I'm not saying you're going to have it, but you got to start having these conversations because then that's what you're known for. Oh, Susie invests in real estate, right? This starts happening. Let's just suppose right now you're not in Mastery. If you're from Mastery, as long as the deal makes sense, you can get the funding. But let's just say that's not the case either. So then let's go back to the hard money that we talked about. So the way the hard money loans work is, in this particular case, Miss Jessica, as long as the deal is good, right, that it's a viable deal, 100% she can get a loan. It's not a problem at all whatsoever, period. Right? So with her background, there's no issue. As long as the credit score is about 650, 660 or more, right? Somewhere around that ballpark or more. So if you're 720 or more, you're going to be basically the A group. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of in the B group. So seems like she has a decent credit score. Your job is not a determining factor whether you can get a loan or not. So you don't have to worry about that at all whatsoever, period, right? Because the loans are based on property. They're not based on they're not based on you and how long you've had a job. So it's a commercial loan. That's why it works that way. And you're going to have to put down 15%. If this is going to be your second transaction, you're going to have to put down 15%. So let's say you're buying a property for a rental. So you're buying a property, you're going to put up your property is going to be, let's say, $150,000 on purchase and another $30,000 on rehab. So you're going to have to come up with 15%. Doesn't have to be your money necessarily. It can be money that you partnered with somebody for. That's how I did my first deal. Right? I did hundreds of deals like that before I started doing all the deals myself. And that's okay, right? When you're starting out, it's better. It's okay. If you have to humble yourself down, take a little bit lesser return, that's perfectly fine. Why? Because it got you started. It got you going in the right direction. So go to National RE Funding, and put in your information. Harry will send you your proof of funds. So now you have a proof of funds, so you can actually go make a legitimate offer. If a real estate agent calls Harry, hey, is this person qualified? He'll go through it. He'll say, yes, he's qualified. He or she, in this case, Miss Jessica, is qualified. So then you won't have that issue. And you can get that funding. So that would be the direction I would go in. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out, Ms. Jessica, and let us know how that worked out. And if you get stuck, reach out, put it in the Facebook group, and we will be happy to address it for you. Next question was, it's Harry, and Harry Zaman. And he says, I want to learn more about buy and hold traditional rentals versus rent to own. What is the advantages of one over the other? Thank you. So, Harry, so let's kind of explain what the two are, and then we'll delve into it. So basically, when you're doing a traditional buy and hold, right, you're buying the property, you can do what we do, which is we'll buy the property, we buy it, rehab it, rent it out, refinance it, and then keep it for a long period of time, right? So 3 rules that we always follow. If you've ever heard me talk about this, number 1, the property has to have equity, meaning let's say you bought the property for 120, you fixed it for 30,000 beyond, so you're in the deal for $150,000. You need about 25 to 30% equity in that deal so that you can refinance the property and pay the first part of the loan off. Then you're in the deal for literally $0, and every single month that property is making you money. Hence, Burr Investors Group, right? Burr Cash Flow Investors Group. That's the name of the group, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. That's that process. So that's something that you can do. Now, the advantage of that is this, that it's a very stable long-term strategy if you do it right. Now, the second strategy some people use is, which is they will do a rent to own. And I'm assuming you're asking this on the back end, rent to own, where you've bought a property and then you're selling the property basically on payments. That's really what you're doing when you're doing rent to own. What you're saying to the next person, instead of just doing a flip on it, you're basically asking a premium, meaning let's say the property today is worth $230, right? If you're going to sell the property as a rent to own option, then you're not going to sell it for $230, then you're going to sell it the property for $260, $270, $280, whatever you think the maximum value you can get out of the property. Why? Because the buyer that you're trying to attract is a person who says, hey, maybe today I don't have the perfect credit, maybe perfect or credit where I'm going to get qualified, or maybe I have a job, but I don't have history. So I'm maybe new in terms of I only have 1 year's worth of history, so I don't have a big, huge down payment, so I'm going to have to rent, and then I would like to buy. So when you're selling it like that, then you're going to ask for a premium. So if the property is worth 230, you're going to ask a premium of 260, 270, 280. Why are you going to ask a premium? Number one, because you're giving them an option to buy the property out, right? That's the reason you're going to ask a premium. Number two, when are they buying the property out? They're not buying the property out generally within a year. They're buying the property out 2 or 3 years out. Generally, it is about 3 to 5 year contract. That is what is signed, right? So they're renting the property, and at the end of it, they have an option that they can exercise to buy the property. If they don't buy the property, if you've taken a deposit from them, so typically whenever people do a rent to buy or rent with option to own, that sort of thing, they're going to take some option money. So you may have taken about $10,000 in option money from them up front, right? And that option money is non-refundable. So whenever you sign a contract like that, you need two things. You need a rental contract, and separately, completely separate, you need a option contract, right? So you need both of those. So you need all the rental documents with all the disclosures, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have a second packet that is going to be your purchase or sale contract, but that is going to include an option contract in there because you're selling an option for them to be able to buy the property. Because it's possible that they give you a $10,000 deposit, they rent from you from 2 years to 3 years, and they say, well, we're still not in a situation to buy the property. At that point, you're going to get to keep the $10,000 or $20,000, whatever they gave you up front, whatever you charge them, you're going to keep that because that is option money, right? That is not a refundable deposit. So this is important to know. And it's totally going to get governed by the contract that you sign with your rent-to-own buyer. So it's going to be based on that, and your language in there needs to be specific, and it needs to be something that is understood by them, right? So now the next question he asks is, well, which one is better? Well, it's going to depend. So I'll give you guys an example, right? A lot of the stuff that we have done, right? In fact, 99.9999% of the stuff I've done it as a long-term rental. I buy the property, get it fixed up, get it refinanced, and then I keep it with no plans ever in the foreseeable future to sell it, right? That's what we teach generally. The reason I teach that is because I feel that is the best way for a normal human being to build a multi-million-dollar portfolio and to secure cash for the rest of their lives. That's my belief system. Now, the second piece of that is this, that some people, so there's a property that I did in West Chicago where we had done a rent to own. This lady moves in, gives us about $12,000 in deposit, keeps renting it, has some sort of a personal situation with her spouse, and then they're basically like, they move out, right? When they move out, they didn't pay 2 months rent that was due, but because of the amount of deposit that they had, and she was just financially devastated. They had some family issues going on, nothing to do with anything else. I said, it is what it is. They didn't trash the place. They left it in decent condition. I can't say nice, but in decent condition. So basically, I just kept the option money that was there, and that's that. After that, I've just had that property rented out because in the first place, I didn't want to sell it, right? Really, it was kind of one of those things. She talked me into it. But now, some other people, so I'll take Bill Powers as an example. He's up north in Lake County. He did that in Waukegan. A lot of people in Waukegan, huge Hispanic population there. Maybe a lot of them may not have the immigration status. Maybe they don't have the credit built up yet, right? So in that market, the whole rent to own, very, very, very popular, right? In the north and northwest parts of Chicago suburbs, that was not as popular thing. If there's a Hispanic population, they will do that. They like that. They're okay with it. They're okay paying a premium. Now with Bill Powers' properties, after years, I had a conversation with him. He's like, man, at the time we did it, it was great because we thought we were charging, property was worth $100,000. We're charging $120,000, $130,000. We thought we were charging a premium. But yet, if you look today, those same properties are worth $200,000, $220,000, $230,000 that he already sold. So there's a yin and yang. It's not like one thing is great, another thing is not. or one is better. It's what is your business plan? I know of some people that they like to sell properties on rent to owns. They even buy on the front end that way, and then they sell it in a creative way. Maybe that's something you may choose to do. I don't choose to do that. I choose to keep the properties, but then it's going to be something that you have to decide. Now, if you look at certain parts of Texas, certain parts of Florida, that sort of an option is a very popular option, right? Some people like to do it. Nothing wrong with it. It's just what's going to be your strategy. And then some people will use that strategy even for their taxes because they don't want to sell the property today and take a big gain on it. So hopefully that answers your question. Next question is, will RE Invest or other hard money companies loan money on homes on auction? What is the process? Actually, this is a great question Dexter asked. So thank you, Dexter. So what he's asking is, hey, will National RE Funding lend you money for a auction property? So let's understand the types of auction. There are two types of auctions. One is a sheriff sale, right? Sheriff sale or a trustee sale. For a trustee sale auction, sheriff sale auction, nobody is going to put up the money, right? No finance company will put up the money. The only way you can get money is either it's your own or it is somebody that you partner with or your family, friends, another business partner. That's a different option. The reason they won't do that for the sheriff sale is because at the end of the sheriff sale, right, when the sheriff sale ends, you don't get a deed to the property. What you get is a certificate of sale, meaning, let's say you went to Target, let's say, right? You're buying a TV over there in the back, it's $400, right? So they don't have a new TV, they have the demo one that's there. You're like, yeah, that's the one I like, and I'm going to basically buy it. They say, well, sir, you can basically buy it today, but we can't give it to you. It's going to be in the store next week. So if you want today's pricing, we will give you the pricing, but you got to pay for it. And when it comes in, we'll have one of them ready to go for you. So what are you going to get? When you go up to the register and you pay for it, you're going to get basically, in the real estate terms, it's called a certificate for sale. There, you're going to get an invoice with a paid receipt saying, hey, you've paid for it. Haven't picked it up yet. You're going to come back next week. Once it's inventory, you're going to pick it up. It's kind of the similar sort of thing happens at sheriff sale. They give you an invoice saying that you have paid for it. So it's a bill of sale sort of thing, right? Certificate of sale, it's called. You get that. But what you don't get is a deed. So then what happens is about 30 days to 45 days from the date of the auction, generally, there is what is called a confirmation hearing. At the confirmation hearing is when the judge signs off and says, okay, this auction was held by the rules of the state. Everything is good. There's nobody contesting the auction. The judge signs off. At that point, what he's doing is he's signing off on the auction. He's not signing your deed. At that point, he orders the sheriff or whoever the governing authority in that case is to issue a deed. Right? And so then they will issue you what is called a sheriff's deed or a trustee deed at that point, right? So all this process can take anywhere from 30 days to 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, depending on what county, what time of the year, all that kind of stuff. Hence, nobody will give you funding at the time of auction. Now, I said nobody. There are rare, very rare exceptions to the case. Right? There are some lenders that'll give you maybe 50%, 60%, but then you need to put up another property security and all that kind of stuff. Now, it's different whenever it is an online auction. If it is an online auction, which is going to be your bank-owned property auction, at that one, you can get funding. National RE Funding will give you funding. There are a bunch of other hard money lenders. They will give you funding. Also, for those, it's not a problem as long as, here's the one condition, that the property has to be vacant. That's the condition you have to pay attention to. So let's say you look at auction.com, you look at hubzoo.com, you look at Xome, Xome.com, you look at Hudson Marshall, you look at realtybid.com, you look at hudhomestore.gov, any of those websites that have online properties that are bank-owned properties specifically, or even short sales that are online. On those auctions, you can get funding as long as the property is vacant and the appraiser can get inside the property after you bid. But you just need to make sure that that particular website provides you with the lets you do a funding on it from a hard money loan company. That's all you need to check. So on those auctions, definitely you can get funded. On the auctions that are sheriff sales, those are the ones that you cannot get funding. You have to do it either with your own funds or you partner up with somebody who has liquid cash. So hopefully that answers that question. The last question for today is Elias, I think it is. Thank you for the thoughts and information. So I'll be closing on my first rental property June 9th. So congratulations. And I'm going to be using a long-term strategy, which I'm going to keep the property. However, I'm more than open to do a midterm rental on this property. So maybe she's heard us talk about midterms. And this is a 3-2. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property in, I'm not going to mention the town. And the reason I'm not mentioning the town is it's around Chicagoland area. Northwest suburbs. I don't want to give her secret away. That would be, and so I've looked on Furnish Finders to see if this area is in demand for midterm rentals. How do I know if it's a good area for midterm rentals? If it's a 3-2 and the house fits the strategy. So this is a great question, and there's not an easy way of answering it. Generally, the areas that make for good midterm rentals are area where you have a lot of traffic and it's a busy area. This particular area that she happens to be in, I believe it will make for a good midterm rental because there's a lot of tract housing in this particular area and there are a lot of great suburbs in this area. And I think she should genuinely consider putting this as a midterm rental. What I would do is on Furnish Finders website for basically properties that are furnished and that are available for midterm meaning 30 days or more type of rental properties. So I would look at that. But where I would look also is for on Airbnb. So I'd go in Airbnb, I would put in 30-day kind of terms, days out, and then I would see what is available in the area, what are the properties that are booked, what is going on, how much other competition do you have? Do you have very many properties that are furnished in that area that are available? What is the general market rents? Because a lot of places in great suburbs, you can do 30-day plus rentals. Right? These are people that are insurance, somebody's house burned down, something happened, a family is rebuilding their home, a family is doing a big renovation project, all of those types of people, or people who are coming to the area, right? Like on one of my midterm rentals recently, there was a 3 or 4 construction people that were staying there for a whole month and a half. They're coming back for another month. Right? So it can be a wonderful opportunity, especially in the specific area that you have mentioned. I don't want to give out your area without checking with you. That's why I'm not mentioning it. I think there will be a good opportunity. First place I would look at what is the availability of rentals in the area, period. Number 2, I would look at, are there furnished rentals? Even on the MLS, you can have your agent or somebody just run a quick search, or you can look on Zillow, right? Zillow will have all the rentals in that area. Then I would look at Airbnb and see how many other properties are available in that particular area, because this happens to be a fairly good area to do a rental. And then what are the average rents? So I would look at those factors. Part of this, guys, is you're rolling the dice a little bit, because there's no such thing as 100%, right? Some of this is going to be rolling the dice. So that's something that you are going to have to look into. So far, all the 30-day midterm rentals so far that I've done, they've been going pretty well. Now, there are certain places, like let's say Barrington, for example. Barrington, the midterm rental took a little bit longer to find people. Now it's going pretty well, but it took a little bit longer. Why? Because even though Barrington is an A area, it's off the beaten path. So you're going to have to deal with that even in winter. Am I going to be able to keep it occupied? I don't know yet, right? This is still needs to be tested. So it's going to get based on, is the area densely populated? If the area has a lot of housing, a lot of people in and out of that area, then I would definitely try a midterm rental. So in this case, it may definitely be worth it for you to seriously look into. Please keep us informed as to how that works out, what you decide to do, and your reasoning behind it. It would be exciting to be able to share your successes, hopefully, with everybody. So having said that, guys, thank you very much for attending. Again, Burr Cashflow Investors, invite your friends and your family. And remember, we have a giveaway that's going to come up at the next 3-day for everybody that you invite. And hopefully we pull out your name for inviting lots and lots of people. Thanks a bunch and have a good day.